Public executions, cold-blooded murder, and the violent end of the world. It's not Call of Duty we're talking about, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. Like all good villains, Dr. Eggman doesn't work alone. He has a variety of henchmen who have assisted him in various schemes over the years, aiding him in carrying out his dastardly plans. Two of his most trusted servants are two small robots named Orbot and Cubot. They both made their first appearance in Sonic Colors, and have become so well known in the series that they even have their very own action figures. While these robotic figures are undoubtedly loyal to their master, even if they do have somewhat sarcastic personalities, the same is not true of Eggman himself. Orbot and Cubot have always done as they are told, but the villain has shown that he is not loyal to his henchmen. In fact, he even abandoned them in space with seemingly no way to get home safely. In Sonic Colors, the pair are pushing Eggman through space in his damaged craft when they come across the Time Eater. Knowing that this is his chance to get home, he gets the two robots to push him into the Time Eater and disappears in front of them. By the time of Sonic Generations, it is revealed that Eggman left both Orbot and Cubot behind and made no attempt to rescue them. Like any form of media, it is not unusual for video games to feature elements of romance. In fact, it's a common element in stories for the hero to have some sort of love interest who can provide extra motivation. Perhaps they might have to rescue them in a classic damsel in distress scenario, or they are a valuable ally who can help the protagonist on their quest. In that respect, the Sonic the Hedgehog series is no different. Sonic himself has had a lot of love interests over the years. However, there is a slight problem in that many of the relationships in the franchise have been between the various animals who make up the main characters and humans. And while Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are sentient and humanoid, they are decidedly not human. Perhaps the most notable example of this type of relationship was in 2006's Sonic the Hedgehog when Princess Elise kisses Sonic. But there are also other notable instances of this phenomenon, such as Sonic's previous girlfriend Madonna. Speaking to IGN, senior game designer Takashi Iizuka acknowledged the issue and the fan backlash, suggesting that Sega would be avoiding interspecies romance in the future. Although he bears a striking resemblance to the main villain from the Sonic the Hedgehog series, Professor Gerald Robotnik is not actually the Dr. Eggman fans know. Instead, he is the grandfather of the infamous bad guy, and as leader of Project Shadow, the creator of Shadow the Hedgehog. Tragically, his granddaughter would perish at the hands of the military while helping Shadow escape from the Ark space colony. The loss of his granddaughter would drive Gerald over the edge with vengeful rage, and he would ultimately find himself imprisoned after threatening to destroy all of humanity. His final moments can be seen in Sonic Adventure 2, when a videotape is played, which shows a tied-up Robotnik giving a final speech before he is executed.
All of you ungrateful humans who took everything away from me will feel my loss and despair.
The rambling monologue explains how he will get his revenge by wiping out the entire population. He sounds deranged and doesn't seem to understand exactly the gravity of the situation. The video cuts out as a soldier seemingly signals his troops to finish Robotnik off, although this gruesome scene is thankfully not displayed. A whole host of video games have featured interesting Easter eggs that trigger when the player is idle for an extended period of time. These typically feature the playable character doing something that they ordinarily wouldn't, rather than simply standing still forever. Earthworm Jim, for instance, had a number of unique animations that involved everything from skipping with his own head to singing opera, while Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day would pull out a Game Boy and start playing his own game. So it makes sense that the Sonic series would also have these sorts of idle animations, as they are such a staple of video games in general. The only problem is that one of them is pretty jarring and kind of in poor taste. In Sonic CD, Sonic will decide he's had enough of waiting for the player, since letting the timer run out is a death sentence on its own. If left idle for too long, Sonic will announce,
"I'm out of here."
Way to punish someone for forgetting to pause the game before answering the call of nature. First released in 1998, Sonic Adventure is a platform game that features several different storylines following beloved long-running characters such as Sonic, Knuckles, Amy Rose, and Tails. The overarching plot sees Dr. Eggman trying to unleash an ancient god known as Chaos on the world by collecting the Chaos Emeralds. After being defeated by Sonic, Eggman falls into the heavily populated city known as Station Square, a location filled with skyscrapers, amusement parks, and family homes. When it appears as if all hope is lost for the villain, he launches a nuclear missile, knowing that its explosion will not only kill millions of innocent people, but also himself. The missile lands without exploding, prompting both Eggman and Tails to race towards it. Tails ultimately arrives first and prevents it from being detonated remotely. Then turns his attention to Eggman, who finds his second wind and continues the battle. The problem of being faster than light is that you can only live in darkness. Here's a quote that aptly sums up Sonic's experience in Sonic and the Black Knight, a game in which the Blue Hedgehog is forced to outrun the existential dread that consumes his companion. Towards the end of the game, Sonic's lady friend Merlina reveals herself unable to cope with the reality that all things die. Due to the grief this fact causes her, she becomes the game's secret twist villain, bent on using black magic to make a medieval kingdom that lives on forever, free of death and deterioration. To this, Sonic argues that the beauty of life is in making the most of the time you have. When Merlina won't listen to him though, Sonic tries to stop her, though his attempts are mild and simply meant to pacify. Despite this, Merlina proceeds to ruthlessly beat him until he's bruised and broken. The whole scene is just painful to watch, filled with dreary existentialism and harsh violence for a Sonic game. If you ever wanted to see a villain succeed in killing Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 06 is the game for you. The kicker? It's not even Dr. Eggman who does the deed. It's the new bad guy on the block, Mephiles, who succeeds in spearing Sonic through the chest with a concentrated beam of dark energy. It's not even a fight. Mephiles ambushes Sonic from behind while the latter is taking a walk in the park with his girlfriend. There's no honor or dramatic struggle involved, just a one-hit cheap shot from the back. What makes this whole scene sadder is that Sonic's just collateral damage. Mephiles doesn't even care about defeating the Hedgehog for personal reasons. All the villain wants is to make Sonic's girlfriend cry because of some voodoo magic locked away within her tears, and Sonic's death happens to be the easiest way to break her. The whole plot point of Sonic's death is just so relentlessly dark and sad in every aspect. Surely, seeing the assassination of Sonic himself would be enough to disturb any Sonic fan. But if that didn't quite do it, then there's always the murder of a young girl in the Shadow the Hedgehog spin-off to make you feel strange while playing a Sonic game. You know, games targeting children. Shadow the Hedgehog's entire character is defined by the death of this girl, as she was his best friend. Her name was Maria, and she, along with Shadow, lived in a space colony run by Dr. Eggman's grandfather, Gerald Robotnik. Though it's heavily alluded to in Sonic Adventure 2, Maria's actual death only really gets a spotlight in Shadow the Hedgehog. In that game, we finally see a cutscene showing armed soldiers cornering her seconds before she makes sure Shadow escapes the colony safely via a shuttle. Because the soldiers are tasked with killing Shadow, they kill Maria to try to stop her from rescuing him, and Shadow has to watch this all from within his escape pod, unable to help the only person he cares about. Knuckles Chaotix is a 1995 spin-off game that features Knuckles the Echidna as the main hero. The story sees Knuckles attempting to put a stop to Dr. Robotnik's schemes, who aims to use Metal Sonic to collect 6 magic rings that would allow him to take over a mysterious island. Like other games in the series, Chaotix is a side-scrolling platformer, although the player is forced to work with other characters to whom they are tethered in order to navigate through the stages. Where Knuckles Chaotix takes a turn is right at the very end. If the player fails to collect all of the Chaos Rings before beating the final boss, they will only get the bad ending of the game. Usually, bad endings like this paint things in a slightly worse light, reminding the player that they may have saved the day, but they were not entirely successful. This game went one step further by seemingly showing the entire destruction of a city. As the credits roll, a giant Metal Sonic Kai hovers overhead as the world burns below, with the entire thing accompanied by very ominous music. It just seems so completely out of place and hopeless for any Sonic game. In Sonic Unleashed, Eggman summons a monster from within the Earth's core and splits the world apart to give said monster room to breathe. This involves tearing the Earth's crust into massive, continent-encompassing puzzle pieces. Though that's obviously a bad thing, Sonic Unleashed never really explores the matter any further. This begs the earth-shattering question: What's happened to the Earth's water supply and the millions of people who are living along the fault lines? Did the majority of the world's oceans drain and evaporate into the center of the Earth? How many millions, if not billions, of lives were lost when the Earth split and entire cities fell into the planet's molten core? Sonic Unleashed never tidies up these morbid plot holes, leaving us to wonder just how much damage Eggman really did. Everyone likes to think of him as a goofy, mildly endearing caricature of evil. But we figure that's only because they're not thinking about the time he drained most of the Earth's water supply while also instantly murdering a sizable chunk of the world's population. There's a reason almost no one likes Tails. It's not because he ruined every special stage in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, it's not because of his pitiable, defenseless nature. It's because of the nonsense he spouts at the worst possible times. Case in point, the bookend cutscene of Sonic Adventure. After Super Sonic and Perfect Chaos go toe-to-toe, the city they battle in is left in ruin. Station Square is flooded beyond redemption, and it goes without saying that countless civilians probably died during the proceedings. Thousands, if not millions, drowned to death. And we're not even discussing the billions in property damage. Though Sonic defeats the monster, the cost is astronomically high. It's pretty messed up then that after all that death and destruction, Tails sees fit to unironically say,
"All's well that ends well, right?"
No, Tails, when there are countless dead bodies floating through a flooded city and everyone still alive is now homeless, that's not the time to say things ended well.
Shut your stupid ass up! Say that, folks!